Chosen one. Stop for a moment and open your ears. This is not an ordinary interruption. Heaven itself has leaned close to speak into your life. Because the days ahead are heavy with consequence. This week will not pass quietly for you. It carries the weight of destiny. And ignoring God's voice will not just cost you comfort, it could cost you peace, safety, and direction. You already feel the pull inside, that gentle stirring, that whisper in the silence, the sense that something more is being asked of you. The voice of God rarely shouts. It nudges. It beckons. It waits for your attention. But if you drown it out with noise, distractions, or the opinions of others, you risk missing the very words that would preserve your life. Think of this week as a tightrope stretched across a deep canyon. One wrong step, one careless glance away from the rope, and the fall is swift. But with your eyes fixed, with your ears tuned to the voice guiding you, you can cross safely and reach the ground of promise. That is why this moment matters so much. There was once a chosen one who walked through a season of waiting. He was offered a deal that promised quick success, money, recognition, and the applause of men. Everything looked right on paper. But late one night, in the stillness, he felt an unease in his spirit. Against all advice, he turned it down. Within weeks, the truth came out. It was a trap. Fraud and scandal followed the very opportunity that seemed so perfect. His obedience saved him from ruin. That week could have ended his future, but listening preserved his destiny. You see, chosen one. God's voice is not a luxury. It is survival. It is the compass when fog hides the road ahead. It is the lighthouse when waves crash against your vessel in the storm. It is the gentle hand that steers you away from snares laid in secret. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah in chapter 7, verse 23. Obey my voice, and I will be your God, and you shall be my people. Walk in all the way I command. That it be well. Do you hear it? The promise is not empty. If you obey his voice, he pledges himself to you. But the condition is clear. Walk in the way he commands. This is why ignoring him is deadly, because it is to walk unguarded, unprotected, exposed to every trap of the enemy. This week, distractions will come dressed as opportunities. Temptations will arrive, wrapped in beauty. Counterfeit voices will sound almost right, almost holy, almost wise. That is why you must sharpen your hearing. Delay in obedience is still disobedience. Waiting until it feels convenient can become the very crack the enemy exploits. Picture your soul as a violin string. When tuned by the master's hand, it produces a pure, powerful sound that can pierce through the thickest darkness. But if you resist his touch, if you ignore the tension he applies, the string slackens, and instead of music, there is only dullness. This week, will your life sing with obedience, or zak in silence? If this word stirs you, let your response be visible. Not for me, but for heaven's record. Leave a sign in the comments. Type the number 77 as your declaration. I will listen. I will obey. Let it be a prophetic act, a way of saying, this week, I choose God's voice above all others. End of. And if you know someone walking blindfolded toward danger, share this message. You may become the hand that pulls them back from the edge. A simple act of sharing can be the difference between ruin and rescue for a soul teetering on the brink. Chosen one, do not underestimate what is at stake. You are called. You are marked. You are set apart for such a time as this. Heaven does not waste its breath, and God does not speak in vain. His voice is life, and His voice is your shield. Before you move forward, make a choice. This week, will you let His whisper guide you, or will you drown it out and stumble into traps laid against you? Decide now, not later. And if this message resonates, subscribe to remain connected, not for numbers, but so that your spirit is continually fed by words that keep you aligned with heaven. The days ahead are serious. Heaven has paused for you. The question remains, will you pause for heaven? Chosen one, you have often wondered why the voice of God does not thunder like lightning, why it does not split the skies so there can be no mistake. But here lies the mystery. His voice is like a whisper, tender yet unmistakable to the one who truly listens. The storm, however, is loud. The storm shouts with urgency. The storm grabs attention with chaos. This is the battle you face, not between silence and noise, but between the whisper of God and the roar of distraction. When Elijah fled to the mountain, shaken and weary, he encountered this very contrast. The earth quaked. The winds howled. Fire blazed across the horizon, but God was not in any of them. Then came a gentle whisper. It was so small, so fragile, that only a surrendered heart could perceive it. That is what you face in your own life. The storm will always be louder, but the whisper will always be truer. This week, you will notice it. The noise will rise, the storm of deadlines, the opinions of others, the pressure of unfinished tasks, the voices that demand your response immediately. These things come like crashing waves, insisting that you bow to them. But in the midst of all of it, the whisper waits, not forcing, not shouting, but inviting. To hear it, you must quiet the storm inside you. There is danger in choosing the storm. The storm makes you reactive. It drives you by fear, by urgency, by appearances. You move quickly, but without direction. It is like a sailor steering his ship by the roar of waves rather than the stars. He feels active, but he is lost. He feels busy, but he is adrift. To choose the whisper is harder. It requires stillness. It demands trust. It feels unnatural to stop when everything screams, "Hurry!" But that is the point. The whisper tests your allegiance. Do you belong to the storm, or to the one who calms it? There was a chosen one who once found herself in a storm of opinions. Everyone around her had advice. Take this path. Say these words. Don't risk too much. Their voices grew louder each day, and her heart was pulled in every direction. She fasted, she prayed, and then, in the quiet of dawn, a whisper rose within her. Stay still. Do not move yet. It was so faint. It almost felt unreal, but she obeyed. Days later, the truth came out. The very path she had been urged toward was filled with hidden betrayal. Had she rushed into the storm, her heart would have been broken beyond repair. The storms will promise safety, but they are liars. The whisper promises nothing but God Himself, and that is enough. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verses 5 and 6, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him. He shall direct your paths. Trusting the whisper feels like leaning away from your own understanding. It feels like stepping into the unknown, but it is the only way to be directed into paths that do not end in destruction. Consider another picture. Your heart is like a garden. The storm scatters seeds, wildly thoughts, worries, doubts, fears, and soon weeds spring up, choking what was meant to grow. But the whisper is like the careful hand of a gardener, planting seeds with precision. They take time. They require patience. But when they grow, they yield life. Which garden will you allow inside you this week? Another image. Imagine holding a fragile lantern in the middle of the night. Around you, the wind roars. Branches snap. Thunder cracks in the sky. The storm rages. But the flame in your lantern flickers steadily. If you focus on the storm, you will panic. But if you keep your eyes on the flame, you will walk forward without stumbling. The flame is his whisper. It does not promise to silence the storm, but it gives you the light to keep moving through it. Chosen one. Understand this truth. The whisper of God will never compete with the storm. It will not try to outshout fear, nor drown out anxiety with more noise. It will simply remain steady, waiting for your ear, waiting for your heart. The question is not whether he speaks. The question is whether you will choose to listen. The storms are temporary, but the whisper is eternal. The storms shift. They come and go. But the whisper carries the timeless wisdom of heaven. If you learn to trust it now, you will stand unshaken when others are tossed about by the winds. You will walk in peace when others collapse in fear. You will become a living testimony that God still guides his chosen ones, not with thunder, but with the still, small voice. Chosen one. You have carried battles no one else could see. You've smiled in rooms where your heart was breaking, laughed with friends while your soul wept in silence. The world thinks you are strong because you stand tall, but heaven knows the weight you drag behind you. Every tear, every restless night, every prayer whispered into the dark, none of it has gone unnoticed. This is where the voice of God becomes most precious, when your hidden struggles rise like shadows. His whisper cuts through, reminding you that you are not abandoned. People may misuse you. Some may even reject you. But his eyes have seen. His ears have heard. His heart has carried you. There was once a chosen one who felt invisible. He went to work, came home, and repeated the cycle day after day. Inside, he was unraveling, lonely, misunderstood, exhausted from battles no one cared to ask about. One night, on the verge of giving up, he opened the scriptures, and a single verse leapt out like fire. It was as if heaven had entered his small apartment and sat beside him. The verse didn't erase his pain overnight, but it gave him strength to rise again, knowing he was seen. That was the turning point. What others could not witness, God had already carried, as was spoken in the sacred texts of old. In the book of Psalms, chapter 34, verse 18, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. And this is not poetry, it is reality. When you feel crushed, heaven draws near. When you are broken, the Lord himself bends down, close enough to hear the faintest cry. You are not invisible. No matter how deep the silence around you feels, Picture your life as a painting. The people around you may only see the bright strokes, the moments you shine, the laughter you share. But hidden in the shadows of the canvas are darker hues, strokes of pain, seasons of sorrow. And yet, without those shades, the masterpiece would lack depth. God sees it all. He does not reject the shadows of your story. He weaves them into something that holds beauty and strength. Or imagine yourself as a mountain. To others, you appear immovable, towering, solid, but they do not see the storms that batter your peaks, the cracks that run deep beneath the surface. Still, mountains stand, not because they never face storms, but because their foundation is rooted. That is you, chosen one, battered yet unshaken, because your foundation is God Himself. Now, let me speak directly to your spirit. You have been misunderstood. You have been overlooked, but none of it disqualifies you. In fact, it is the very sign that you are chosen, for God hides His strongest warriors in plain sight, shaping them in the shadows, refining them in seasons of silence. What breaks others has not broken you, because heaven's hand has been holding you all along. I want you to do something small but significant. Write in the comments, "Not forgotten." Why? Because those two words are a weapon against the lies that creep into your mind. When you type them, you are declaring, even if people overlook me, God never has. Even if my pain has been ignored by others, heaven remembers every detail. This is more than a comment. It is a prophetic declaration over your life. A reminder to your own soul that you are engraved on the palms of His hands. Chosen one. Your hidden struggles are not wasted. They are not shameful. And they are not overlooked. They are the very place where God draws near, where His voice whispers the loudest. Let every tear you have cried become a testimony that His presence has never left you. The battle inside you is not the end. It is the refining fire that proves you are chosen for more. So rise, not because your pain is gone, but because your God is here. And when you walk into the next room, remember, you carry a light that others cannot comprehend. Born from the shadows, you have survived. And listen carefully to this truth. Every hidden struggle is shaping you into someone dangerous to darkness. The enemy hopes your silence will bury you. But God uses your silence to prepare you, like a seed buried in the ground, unseen and pressed beneath the soil. You are not forgotten. You are being prepared to break through. The day will come when what was hidden bursts into the open, and the testimony forged in your private battles will rescue lives you never imagined touching. Your struggle is not the end. It is the planting before the harvest. Chosen one. You have always known deep down that you were different, even as a child. There were moments you could not explain, times when you felt set apart, even misunderstood, while others seemed comfortable blending in. Your spirit longed for something more, something greater. This difference has not been a curse. It has been a divine mark. You were never created to move with the crowd. You were created to stand out, not by your own strength, but by the purpose of heaven written upon your life. Many try to erase their uniqueness, to cover it up so they will not attract unwanted attention. They mimic the voices of others, copy the actions of those around them, and silence the quiet stirrings within. But you, chosen one, cannot erase what God Himself has etched into your being. Your difference is not a mistake. It is evidence of destiny. Consider the story of Joseph. His brothers despised him because of his dreams. They could not understand why he carried visions of greatness when he was the youngest among them. To them, his difference was arrogance. To God, his difference was destiny. What set him apart was not meant to make him comfortable. It was meant to place him in position when famine struck the land. Without his difference, many lives would have been lost. In the same way, your life has been marked by moments where rejection cut deep. You wondered, why do they treat me this way? Why can't I just fit in like everyone else? But heaven whispers, because you are not like everyone else. The friction you feel with the world is not proof that you are flawed. It is proof that you are chosen. As the Apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians, chapter 6, verse 17, "Therefore come out from among them and be separate, says the Lord. Touch no unclean thing, and I will receive you." Separation feels painful, but it is sacred. To be chosen is to be called out of the ordinary. It means you cannot do what others do without consequence. It means you cannot follow the crowd without losing yourself. Where others walk freely into compromise, your spirit aches. Where others can laugh at darkness, you feel the weight of conviction. This is the mark of heaven upon you. Picture a torch in a cave. The cave is vast and dark, filled with shadows stretching in every direction. A single torch, though small, makes all the difference. The shadows hate it, for it exposes what hides in the corners. That torch is you. You wonder why opposition rises against you more fiercely than against others. It is because your very presence reveals what darkness wishes to conceal. Or think of a compass needle. No matter how much you spin it, no matter how it is shaken, the needle always returns to true north. That is you, chosen one. Others may wander, drifting with the winds of culture, but your spirit pulls you back to alignment. Even when you try to run, even when you try to bury your calling, something deep inside refuses to let you rest in compromise. This difference can feel heavy. At times, you may wish you could silence it. Exchange your mantle for ease, your calling for comfort. But remember this, every prophet, every servant of God in the sacred texts felt the same weight. Jeremiah cried that the word of God was like fire shut up in his bones. He could not hold it back, even when he tried. Your difference burns in you the same way. It is not optional. It is your identity. Chosen one. The world does not need more copies. It does not need you to shrink into invisibility. It needs the light that only you carry, the vision that only you have been given. The very thing that made you the outcast in one season will make you the answer in the next. Your difference is the bridge between despair and deliverance, between emptiness and hope. So do not despise it. Do not run from it. Learn to wear your difference like armor, not shame. For when storms rage, when deception spreads, when others collapse in confusion, your distinct calling will anchor you. And in that moment, what once isolated, you will become the reason others are drawn to you. Chosen one. You are marked not by chance, but by choice, God's choice. You are distinct because heaven needed someone unafraid to be different. Stand in it boldly. For your difference is not a wound, it is a weapon forged by the hand of God. Chosen one. There is a danger more subtle than open rebellion, and it hides itself in something that feels harmless: delay. To delay obedience is to treat God's voice as optional, to assume there will always be more time. But what if the opportunity is fleeting? What if the window closes, never to open again? Delay may feel safer, but it is the quiet doorway through which destruction often enters. Think about a fire alarm ringing in the middle of the night. Some leap up immediately, gathering loved ones, stepping into safety. Others hesitate. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe I'll wait another minute. That single minute can make the difference between life preserved and life lost. In the same way, the Spirit's prompting is often urgent. To delay is to gamble with consequences you cannot afford. There was once a chosen one who sensed God calling him to release bitterness toward someone who had betrayed him. The Spirit whispered, "Forgive now," but he delayed. "I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it when I feel ready." Days turned to months, and the bitterness grew roots. It poisoned his relationships, clouded his joy, even hindered his prayers. By the time he realized the cost, years had been wasted. Delay had become a thief. As the prophet Elijah spoke in the first book of Kings, chapter 18, verse 21, "How long will you waver between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal is God, follow him." Hesitation is not neutral. It is a choice. To waver is to stand on sinking sand. God's call does not wait endlessly when he speaks. He expects movement, not tomorrow, not later, but now. Imagine your life as a train pulling into a station. The doors open for a brief moment, inviting you aboard. But if you hesitate too long, the doors close and the train pulls away. You are left behind, not because the train rejected you, but because delay cost you the moment. Obedience works the same way. To delay is to watch destiny depart while you remain at the platform. But hear this, chosen one. God's warnings are never given to shame you, but to save you. He calls you urgently because he loves you deeply. Every act of immediate obedience becomes a shield, guarding you from storms you may not even see coming. Now, let me pause and speak heart to heart. If these words have been feeding your spirit, if this channel has been a place where your soul finds strength, then consider supporting it. Not because you are pressured, not because you are obligated, but because you desire to keep the flame burning for others. Think of it this way: a lighthouse on a rocky shore costs much to keep lit the oil for the flame, the care for its walls. Yet sailors who find their way home never pay for the light directly. They are simply grateful it was there. In the same way, this ministry is like that lighthouse. It shines to guide, to warn, to encourage. Your donation is like oil poured into the lamp, ensuring the light never goes out for those still at sea. Whether your gift is small or large, it is never unnoticed. It becomes part of the story. It becomes part of the light that reaches the next soul wandering in darkness, and it is always voluntary. Support only if your heart is moved. That is the beauty of it. It is never forced. If giving is not possible for you, your prayers are just as vital. If donating is within your means, it helps expand the reach. Either way, you remain part of this movement. You are family here, not a number, not a transaction. And while you are here, take a moment to like this message. Share it, so another soul may be strengthened. And subscribe, so you do not miss the words Heaven is speaking in this season. These small acts ripple outward farther than you know. Every click becomes like a pebble dropped in water, its waves spread to shores unseen. Chosen one. Delay is dangerous, but obedience is life. The longer you wait, the more ground you lose. Do not let hesitation steal what heaven intends for you. When God whispers, act quickly. When He nudges, respond immediately. Your swiftness in obedience becomes a fortress around your destiny. Remember the train at the station. The doors are open now. The whistle is sounding. The decision is yours. Will you board? Or will you watch the opportunity fade into the distance? This week, do not waver. Do not postpone. Let today be the day your obedience moves without hesitation. For it is in the quickness of your response that you will discover protection, provision, and peace that only God can give. Chosen one. There is a dangerous edge many approach without realizing it, the slow hardening of the heart. Each time the voice of God is ignored, each time conviction is pushed aside, the heart grows a little less tender, a little less open, and then one day, the whisper that was once so clear seems faint, almost gone. Mercy has not disappeared, but your ears have grown deaf to it. Disobedience is rarely sudden. It is almost always gradual, like a stone in a river, worn smooth over years of water rushing past. Your sensitivity can wear away if you continually resist the Spirit's leading. That is why Scripture warns us so strongly, do not harden your heart. It was proclaimed in the letter to the Hebrews, chapter 3, verse 15. Today, if you hear His voice, do not harden your hearts as you did in the rebellion. Then, notice the urgency of that word. Today, not tomorrow, not when it feels convenient. Today, the longer you delay, the easier it becomes to silence conviction. The more you silence conviction, the easier it becomes to slip into blindness. Think of it like a candle burning in a dark room. At first, the flame is bright, and the shadows retreat, but neglect it, and the flame weakens. If ignored long enough, it dies out, leaving the room in total darkness. That is what happens to the heart when the whisper of God is constantly ignored. There was once a chosen one who felt the tug of heaven to step away from a toxic friendship. Deep down, she knew the influence was pulling her into compromise. But she pushed the conviction aside again and again. It's not that serious, she told herself. But with each dismissal, the voice grew keener, and her heart grew colder. By the time the friendship collapsed, the damage was deep. Her faith was shaken, her confidence fractured. The voice had been speaking all along, but repeated rebellion had dulled her ears. That is why this week matters so much. You cannot afford to live one more day half listening to God's whisper. Your destiny, your peace, your very protection hinges on it. To ignore Him is to edge closer to blindness. Picture a violin string pulled tighter and tighter. At first, it sings beautifully. But if you ignore the tension, if you refuse to adjust, the string eventually snaps. The music ends abruptly, not because it was weak, but because it was neglected. In the same way, your soul is delicate when it comes to obedience. Ignore the adjustments of the Spirit, and the very song of your life is cut short. Or imagine walking through fog. At first, the path is faintly visible, But the farther you go without a light, the denser the fog becomes, until you cannot even see your own hand. Ignoring God's voice works like that. Each step without obedience makes the path harder to discern, until blindness sets in. Chosen one, you must guard your sensitivity like treasure. Treasure is not left exposed on the streets. It is guarded, protected, carefully watched. Your heart must be the same. Guard it against rebellion. Protect it against the lie that says, one more delay won't hurt, because it always hurts. Delay always steals. This is your moment to declare, you will not grow blind. You will not let rebellion numb your spirit. You will keep your heart tender before God. I want you to pause right now and leave a sign in the comments. Write 111. Why? Because it is a prophetic marker. A way of saying, I choose to stay sensitive. I refuse to harden my heart. I will not let rebellion blind me. It is not about numbers. It is about alignment. Your declaration is a seed planted in faith, reminding you of this decision when temptation tries to creep back in. And remember, each time you respond to the whisper of God, your hearing grows sharper. Each yes makes you more alive to His presence. Each step of obedience strengthens your sight, until what once seemed confusing becomes crystal clear. Do not let mercy step back from you. Do not let rebellion silence the voice that has carried you this far. This week, live with your ears wide open, your heart tender, your steps swift in obedience. For the voice of God is not just instruction, it is life itself. And let this settle deep in you. Blindness doesn't happen in a single night. It happens through small, repeated choices to ignore, to postpone, to excuse. That is why your response today is so important. Every yes keeps the flame alive. Every moment of surrender keeps your spirit soft. You are shaping your future with these choices, and heaven is watching over every step you take. Chosen one. Have you ever wondered why the battles against your life have been so fierce? Why the attacks sometimes feel personal, targeted, relentless, as if darkness itself knows your name? It is not imagination. It is reality. Hell studies you because you are marked. The enemy sees the potential you carry, the destiny inscribed upon your spirit, and he trembles at what will happen when you walk in full obedience to God's voice. If you feel as though life has singled you out for hardship, it is because you have been singled out, but not only by heaven. The adversary recognizes chosen vessels. He has seen before how one obedient servant can shift nations, restore families, bring light to entire generations. That is why he fights you so personally. Consider Job, a man upright and blameless, yet marked by unusual suffering. Why? Because even in heaven, his name was known. The enemy asked permission to sift him, because he feared what Job's faithfulness could reveal. The same is true for you. Your trials are not random, they are strategic. Hell wastes no time targeting those who have no future. According to the writings in the book of Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. This is not merely poetic language. It is the lens through which you must view your struggles. That argument with a friend, it is deeper than words. That sudden wave of discouragement, it is not just emotion, These are skirmishes in a larger battle, a battle over your calling, over your assignment, over the influence you will carry when you step into your full identity as a child of God. Think of a chessboard. The enemy does not waste his strongest pieces on pawns with no strategic value. He saves his fiercest moves for those pieces that threaten his position. If you feel pressure, it is because you are positioned as a threat. Or picture yourself as a torch in the night. Moths are drawn to it, but so are predators who despise the light. The brighter your flame grows, the more attention it attracts. The enemy hopes to extinguish you before your light reaches its full brilliance. There was once a chosen one who battled unseen torment nightmares, depression, sudden waves of fear with no explanation. At first, he thought he was weak, flawed, broken. But then he learned. His life carried a mantle of intercession. His prayers were shaking things in the spirit, breaking chains over people he had never even met. The attacks were fierce, not because he was weak, but because he was dangerous to darkness. That realization changed everything. So too with you. The intensity of your battle is a reflection of the intensity of your calling. The enemy's attacks are not proof of your failure, but of your significance. He does not waste his weapons on those with no influence. Chosen one. Let this truth anchor you. The fight against you reveals the fear of hell concerning you. Every sleepless night, every sudden storm, every unexpected loss, these are not signs that God has abandoned you. They are signs that the enemy is panicking, scrambling to stop what heaven has already decreed. And yet, remember this, the enemy may know your name, but he does not hold your destiny. He may recognize your potential, but he cannot cancel it. His weapons may form, but they cannot prosper against the one who abides in the shadow of the Almighty. Your assignment is not to fear the recognition of hell, but to stand firm in the recognition of heaven, for while darkness studies you, heaven has already sealed you. While the enemy whispers lies, the Spirit declares truth. While hell plots your downfall, angels are dispatched to guard your steps. Picture a battlefield at dawn. Smoke rises. Soldiers clash. Chaos fills the air. In the midst of it stands a single banner, lifted high, unmoved by the winds. That banner is your identity in Christ. No matter how fierce the enemy's assault, your banner will not fall, because it is held by hands stronger than your own, the hands of the one who chose you. So, when you feel the pressure mount, when attacks rise without warning, when your soul feels targeted, remember, it is because you are known by heaven, known by hell, and chosen for a purpose that will outlast both storm and shadow. Chosen one. Never forget this. The voice of God is not mere advice. It is not one opinion among many, something to weigh and consider, as if heaven's words could be placed beside the noise of the world. His voice is survival itself. To treat it as suggestion is to mistake the hand that saves for a casual whisper. When God speaks, He is not offering preference. He is giving the map that leads you away from destruction. There is a reason the scriptures call His word a lamp for our feet and a light for our path. Without it, you wander in the dark, stumbling into snares, falling into pits designed to swallow you whole. The enemy does not fear your talent, your charm, or your intellect. He fears your obedience to the voice of God, because when you obey, no weapon formed against you can succeed. There was once a chosen one who was planning to make a business decision. Everything looked perfect, the numbers aligned. The investors were excited. The timing seemed ideal. But one night, as he prayed, a heaviness filled his spirit. The whisper came clear, "Not this path." He wanted to ignore it. After all, the deal looked flawless, but he obeyed, though it cost him. Months later, the business collapsed in scandal, dragging everyone involved into ruin. That whisper had not been suggestion, it had been survival. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 4, verse 4, "Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God." Bread feeds your body, but the voice of God feeds your life. Without it, you may have full hands, but an empty soul. Without it, you may walk, but never truly live. Picture yourself in a desert. The sun blazes overhead. The sand burns beneath your feet, and thirst claws at your throat. Suddenly, someone hands you a map to an oasis. Would you treat it as optional? Would you toss it aside and try to find water by chance? Of course not. You would cling to it, for it is not a suggestion. It is your only hope for survival. That is what God's voice is to you in this season. Or imagine a sailor lost at sea, waves towering on every side. Out of the darkness, a lighthouse beam cuts through the storm. It does not shout. It does not argue. It simply shines, showing the way. The sailor's survival depends on following that beam. In the same way, when God speaks, his words may be quiet, but they are always clear, always guiding you towards safety. Chosen one. Every step you take in obedience strengthens your shield. Every moment you ignore his voice leaves cracks in your armor. The world teaches you to trust instinct, to follow feelings, to lean on logic. But the Spirit teaches you to trust the whisper of heaven, even when it defies human understanding. Remember Jonah. He heard God's voice clearly, but treated it as optional. He boarded a ship in the opposite direction, thinking he could escape the command. Yet his disobedience did not bring freedom, it brought a storm. His life, and the lives of those around him, were endangered until he surrendered. That story still speaks. Ignoring God's voice does not simply harm you. It endangers everyone connected to you. You must begin to view his voice not as a burden, but as your lifeline. The commands of God are not restrictions, they are rescue missions. The warnings of God are not meant to suffocate you, they are meant to preserve you. When he says no, it is not punishment, it is protection. Think of the countless moments you wished you had listened, the inner nudges you ignored, the warnings you brushed aside. How different would the outcome have been if you had obeyed? Yet, even in those regrets, see the mercy of God, because he still speaks, still calls, still offers the path of survival. Chosen one. The difference between ruin and rescue often comes down to this: did you listen? And did you obey? Never let his voice become background noise in your life. Hold it close. Treat it as breath, as water, as life itself. For without it, you cannot stand. With it, you cannot fall. And let this reminder echo when you obey his voice. You are not just saving yourself, you are preserving destinies around you. Like a torchbearer leading others through a dark tunnel, your obedience illuminates the way for those who walk behind you. This is why his whisper matters so deeply. It is not only about your survival, it is about the many lives tied to your yes. M's chosen one. The moment has come where your crown must be chosen. You cannot stand halfway between compromise and calling any longer. Destiny is not neutral, it requires a response. You have been carried through storms, refined in silence, and shaped in battles unseen. But all of it leads here. This moment is not casual. Heaven watches as you decide whether you will rise into the identity prepared for you or shrink back into the shadows of hesitation. Crowns are not handed to the indifferent. They are given to the ones who step forward, even trembling, and say, "Yes, Lord." To refuse your crown is to leave your throne empty, your assignment unfulfilled, your generation waiting for the voice you carry. And though God can raise another, it was always meant to be you. Think of Esther, trembling before a king who could end her life with a single word. She was not chosen because she was fearless. She was chosen because she responded, "If I perish, I perish," she said. And in her surrender, an entire nation was spared. Her crown was not about jewelry or power. It was about assignment. The same is true for you. The apostle reminds us in his second letter to Timothy, chapter 4, verse 8, "There is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me and to all who love him." This crown is not symbolic only, it is eternal. It represents victory, faithfulness, obedience. It is the evidence that you endured, that you chose rightly when the world pulled you otherwise. To choose your crown now is to align your present with your eternal reward. Picture a battlefield where helmets lie scattered across the ground. Soldiers once carried them, but abandoned them in fear. Then one rises, lifts the helmet, and places it firmly on his head. That act marks him as ready, not just to fight, but to win. In the same way, when you declare your crown, you are telling both heaven and hell that you will not abandon your place. Or imagine a relay race. The baton is in your hand, but you hesitate to run. The crowd waits. The track is clear, but your delay costs the team. That baton represents your assignment, and your crown represents the finish line. You cannot drop it. Not now. Not after coming this far. Chosen one. You may feel unworthy. You may feel unprepared. But crowns are never given to the perfect. They are given to the obedient. You have survived too much to turn back. The fire you walked through was not wasted. The tears you shed in silence were not ignored. Every trial was preparing you for this moment. So I call you to declare it now. In the comments, write, "I claim mine." Those 3 words are more than a statement. They are a spiritual transaction. You are not just acknowledging that a crown exists, you are reaching for it, seizing it, refusing to let it sit unclaimed. You are saying, "The trials I survived were not in vain. The mantle I carry will not be wasted. The calling on my life will not pass me by." Oh, and remember, the crown is not just for you. When you step into your calling, others are set free. When you rise, others are lifted. Your yes is never isolated. It ripples outward, touching lives you may never even meet. This is why the enemy has fought so hard to keep you wavering, because he knows what happens when you finally say yes. Chosen one, let today be the day hesitation dies. Let this be the day you stop wondering if you are called and start living as though you are, for heaven has already chosen you. The only question is whether you will claim your crown. And understand this, crowns are not displayed on shelves. They are placed on heads that bow first. Your humility, your surrender, your willingness to let God lead, that is what makes you fit to wear it. You do not need to be flawless. You need to be yielded. Think of the blacksmith shaping metal in fire. The crown you are to wear has been forged through your trials, heated by your struggles, hammered by your tears. It shines now, not because it was easy, but because it endured the fire. So rise, chosen one, stand tall. Your crown is not in the future, it is here, waiting for your declaration, waiting for your obedience. Do not leave it unclaimed. Chosen one. One of the most terrifying judgments is not when heaven speaks in anger, but when heaven goes silent. To ignore God long enough is to risk stepping into a silence that feels like a void, a chilling emptiness where his voice once guided you. This silence is not peace. It is the absence of direction, the hollow echo of what could have been. Silence may appear harmless, but in truth, it is a warning. For when God withdraws his whisper, when his counsel no longer reaches your ears, you are left to the storm of your own understanding. And what could be more dangerous than walking blind while believing, you see? There was once a chosen one who felt that silence. She had been nudged for months to let go of a relationship that was quietly strangling her spirit. But she delayed. She brushed aside the whispers. One morning, she prayed for direction, but only emptiness answered. For weeks, she felt no stirring, no leading, no correction. It was as if heaven had turned its face away. That silence drove her to repentance. When she finally obeyed, the whisper returned, but she never forgot the taste of silence. The ancient words recorded in the book of Hosea, chapter 4, verse 6, declare, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because you rejected knowledge. I also reject you as my priests." Silence comes when the voice of God is repeatedly rejected. It is not that he stops existing, it is that you stop perceiving him. To live in that state is to walk unguarded into destruction. Imagine a lighthouse on the shore. As long as it shines, ships steer safely through storms. But if the lightkeeper abandons his post and the flame dies, the sea grows treacherous. Ships continue their journey, but without guidance. Many strike the rocks. The silence of God's voice is like the extinguished lighthouse. What once was safe becomes perilous. Or picture a shepherd calling out to his flock in the hills. His sheep know his voice and follow. But if the sheep wander too far, ignoring the call long enough, the voice fades. Soon, predators circle, and the sheep cannot find their way back. That is what happens when we ignore God's call repeatedly. The silence is not absence, it is distance created by our rebellion. Chosen one. This message is not meant to frighten you into despair, but to awaken you into gratitude. The very fact that you still feel conviction, that you still sense God speaking, is proof of his mercy. His silence has not claimed you yet. You are still being called back, urged to lean in, reminded that his voice is life itself. And here, I want to pause with you. If these words have touched your spirit, if this stream of messages has been like a lantern in your night, then consider helping it continue. take a moment to like this message. Share it, so another wandering heart can find direction. And subscribe to stay connected to future words of life. And if you feel led, consider this. A small donation is like oil poured into the lamp of this lighthouse. Each drop ensures the flame continues to burn for those who have not yet found their way home. It is never demanded, never forced, only offered as an opportunity to partner in keeping the light alive. Just as travelers along a dark road are grateful for every lantern lit along the way, so will those who come after you be grateful for the light you help sustain. If you cannot give, your presence, your prayers, your sharing are already powerful offerings. If you can give, know that your seed is not wasted. It multiplies into testimonies yet to be told, lives yet to be reached. Now return with me to the weight of this moment. Silence is not what you are destined for. You were created to walk with clarity, to hear the Father's voice, to know His leading day by day. Do not take His whisper lightly. Treasure it, guard it, and respond quickly when He speaks. For the day will come when those who ignored His voice will cry out for direction, but hear only the void. You, however, are not called to emptiness. You are called to intimacy. You are called to hear and to follow, and as long as His whisper is alive in you, you will never be abandoned, never lost, never silenced by the storm. Chosen one, this is your invitation. Cherish the voice, respond to the whisper, and walk in the light. For when heaven speaks, it is not suggestion, it is salvation. And when heaven is silent, the world is more dangerous than ever. Chosen one, not every voice that sounds holy comes from heaven. This is one of the greatest dangers you face in your journey. Counterfeit voices that mimic truth, but lead into deception. They can sound convincing, even comforting, yet their end is destruction. Discernment is your shield in these days. For the enemy's strategy has always been to twist what God has spoken from the very beginning. In the garden, the serpent did not shout with rage. He whispered with suggestion. He echoed God's words, but with subtle distortion. Did God really say? The trap was not in outright denial, but in the slight shift that lured hearts away from obedience. That same strategy remains active today. You must learn to test the voices that reach your ears. Measure them not by how they make you feel, but by whether they align with the Word of God and the character of Christ. A counterfeit voice will flatter, but it will never convict. It will promise shortcuts. But never requires surrender. The Apostle Paul warned in his second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 11, verse 14, and no wonder, for Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. Do not expect deception to arrive cloaked in darkness. Often, it comes disguised in beauty, in apparent wisdom, in the appearance of holiness. This is why discernment is not optional, it is vital. There was once a chosen one who heard a voice urging him to pursue a certain opportunity. It looked spiritual, even cloaked itself in language of destiny and calling. But something in his spirit hesitated. He prayed, fasted, and waited. Days later, it became clear the opportunity was a snare, designed to exploit him financially and spiritually. Had he rushed in, the cost would have been devastating. The counterfeit nearly succeeded, but discernment preserved him. Picture a traveler carrying a compass through a dense forest. Many signs along the path point in different directions, some bright and welcoming, others ominous and dark, yet only the compass knows true north. The counterfeit signs may look appealing, but the compass remains steady. God's word and spirit are your compass. If you ignore them, you risk following a sign that leads you deeper into the woods of deception. Or think of a musician tuning her instrument. To the untrained ear, the notes may sound fine, but when placed against the true pitch, the dissonance is exposed. Counterfeit voices often sound almost right, but when measured against the pitch of Scripture, the error becomes clear. You must keep your ear trained on the true pitch of heaven, so you can recognize when a voice rings false. Chosen one, do not despise the unease in your spirit. That unease is often the Spirit's alarm, warning you that what appears good may not be from God. The counterfeit voice may appeal to your pride, promise, ease, or justify compromise, but the true voice of God will always align with His word, always point you to surrender, always draw you closer to holiness. There was a time when a prophet declared words that sounded powerful, but they were not from God. The people followed, thinking they had heard heaven, yet ruin followed. False voices are not just ancient dangers. They surround you even now, through media, through culture, even through those who claim to speak for God. That is why you must weigh every word carefully. Chosen one. The enemy cannot steal your destiny outright. He must deceive you into laying it down, and deception is most effective when it feels like truth. That is why your safeguard is not in cleverness, but in intimacy with God. The closer you are to His presence, the more easily you will detect when a voice is foreign. Imagine walking in twilight, where shadows blur and shapes deceive. A tree stump may look like a crouching figure. A path may appear solid, but is only mist. In twilight, eyes can fail you, but if you carry a lantern, the light reveals what shadows try to distort. The Word of God is that lantern. It unmasks what pretends to be holy, but is hollow. Chosen one. You cannot afford to be careless with voices in this hour. Weigh them, test them, filter them through Scripture, for in a world filled with echoes and counterfeits, only the true voice of God will lead you to life. And let this truth anchor deep within you. Discernment is not suspicion. It is protection. It does not mean distrusting every word you hear. It means measuring everything against the eternal standard. When you stay close to the shepherd, his sheep know his voice, and no stranger can lure them away. Stay near, and deception will lose its grip. Chosen one. There are paths in life that once taken cannot be reversed. There are choices so weighty that they mark the soul forever. This is why Scripture speaks of a point of no return, a place where mercy, though abundant, will not override rebellion that persists. You must understand how close some stand to that cliff, playing with compromise, unaware that one more step could push them over the edge. God is patient. He is merciful beyond comprehension, yet mercy is not an endless cushion for defiance. It is an invitation to turn, a rope lowered into the pit to pull you out. To cut that rope, to mock it, to refuse it again and again, is to drift into a silence where even conviction no longer comes. That is the danger of the cliff of no return. The Word of God declares in the book of Romans, chapter 1, verse 28, "And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a reprobate mind, to do those things which are not convenient. To be given over is to be released into blindness. It is the most fearful judgment, not wrath from outside, but abandonment from within. When the voice of warning is ignored too long, when rebellion becomes a way of life, the spirit steps back. Think of a swimmer pulled by a strong current. At first, there is still a chance to resist, to swim back to shore. But the farther they go, the stronger the current becomes, until the pull is unstoppable. That is what rebellion does to the soul. It drags you further than you meant to go, until escape feels impossible. Or picture a candle flickering in the night. Each time you shield it from the wind, it burns steady. But if you neglect it, if you stop guarding it, one gust snuffs it out. The cliff of no return is like that final gust, the moment when neglect closes the door to light. There was once a chosen one who treated conviction lightly. Whenever the Spirit whispered, he silenced it with distractions. Over time, he no longer felt the weight of right and wrong. What once pierced his heart no longer stirred him. By the time calamity struck, his spirit was numb. The danger had not been the calamity itself, but the dullness that came long before. Chosen one, do not mistake delay for safety. Each time you resist conviction, you inch closer to the edge. Each time you say, later, the ground beneath you crumbles. God is not mocked. His mercy is abundant, but it is not to be trampled upon. This is why the Spirit presses so urgently. Today is the day of decision, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready today. You are being called to turn, to respond, to obey, while the whisper is still clear. I want you to mark this moment with a declaration. Write in the comments, 222. This is not superstition, it is a prophetic act. It is you saying, I will not play with the cliff. I will not harden my heart. I choose the path of life while the door is still open. Let that number be a reminder that mercy is present now, but not forever ignored. Chosen one. The cliff of no return is real, but you are not standing there helpless. You are being warned, and warning is mercy. You are being called back before the ground beneath you gives way. Respond now, while conviction is still alive, while the rope of mercy is still extended. For once the rope is cut, there are no guarantees of return. Do not take lightly the tenderness of your heart. Protect it, guard it. Respond quickly, for the Spirit's whisper today is your lifeline, and obedience is the only safe ground left to stand on. And think of this, conviction itself is a gift. The ache you feel when you are about to go astray, that weight on your chest when compromise calls, that is proof you are not abandoned. If you can still feel the sting of conviction, then God is still reaching for you. Many walk without that sting, numb to truth, blind to warning. That numbness is the true danger. Treasure conviction, because it proves your heart is alive, and while your heart beats with that awareness, there is still time to turn, still time to step back from the cliff and walk into life. Chosen one, do not despise the sharp pull of conviction. It is heaven tugging at your soul, keeping you from falling. Each stirring is evidence that God still fights for you, still refuses to let you slip unnoticed. Chosen one, you must know this truth. Your very existence terrifies darkness. It is not simply what you say, but what you carry. There is a light within you that cannot be hidden, a flame placed by the hand of God Himself. And though you may sometimes feel small, fragile, or overlooked, that light unsettles the enemy. Demons tremble when you awaken to your true identity, because your presence disrupts their plans. This is why opposition often rises against you in unexpected ways. It is not just life being unfair, it is war. The light in you exposes what darkness prefers to keep concealed. Even when you enter a room silently, the atmosphere shifts. The plans whispered in shadows lose their grip. Because the presence of God travels with you, we are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 27, verse 1. The Lord is my light and my salvation, whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life, of whom shall I be afraid? The light within you is not your own. It is the reflection of His presence. That is why you are feared, not because of your strength, but because of the strength of the one dwelling in you. Darkness knows it cannot overcome light, so it tries instead to distract you, to silence you, to convince you that your flame is small and unimportant. Picture a single match lit in a pitch-black cave. The shadows leap back instantly. Even the smallest flame changes the entire atmosphere. That is what you are. Even when you feel faint, even when you whisper instead of shout, your light shakes the darkness. Or imagine a lighthouse on the coast. Storms crash against it. Waves slam its foundation. Winds howl against its walls. Yet the light continues to shine, guiding sailors away from destruction. That is what your life represents. Darkness can rage, but your light remains. A testimony that God has not left His world without a witness. There was once a chosen one who underestimated her influence. She thought her prayers were insignificant, her presence unnoticed. But every time she entered her workplace, chaos seemed to lose its grip. Colleagues who were anxious around others felt peace near her. Conversations shifted. Arguments softened. She did not realize that it was not her personality, but the light of God radiating from within. Only later did she understand. Demons flee where His presence dwells. Chosen one. The enemy fears your awakening. He fears the moment you fully grasp that the same Spirit who raised Christ from the dead lives in you. He knows that once you walk in that awareness, you become unshakable. You are no longer easily swayed, no longer easily silenced, no longer easily deceived. That is why attacks against your identity are constant. He would rather you live in doubt than in power. Think of soldiers on a battlefield. Some carry weapons. Others carry only armor. But then there is one who carries the banner. The banner itself does not fight, but it declares ownership of the ground. That is you. Chosen one. You carry the banner of light. Your very presence declares, this territory belongs to God. And the enemy recoils, because he knows he cannot stand where that banner flies. Or think of a dawn breaking overnight. The night resists, stretching shadows as far as it can. But the moment light rises, night has no choice but to retreat. Your light is the same. Darkness may linger, but it cannot outlast the dawn you carry. Do not believe the lie that your influence is meaningless. Every prayer whispered shifts the atmosphere. Every act of obedience spreads light farther. Every time you choose holiness over compromise, the kingdom of darkness loses ground. Chosen one. Your light terrifies darkness, not because you are perfect, But because you are chosen, you were never meant to blend into the shadows. You were born to shine, to declare by your very existence that light has already won. So, walk boldly. Step into rooms with confidence. Know that you carry the presence of the Almighty. Demons know your name, not because of who you are in yourself, but because of the one who reigns within you. And as long as that flame burns, darkness has no power to overcome you. Chosen one. Let this settle deep in your spirit. Light never asks permission to shine. It simply shines. And in shining, it changes everything around it. So too, with you, your life is not background noise. It is a beacon. Every step you take with God sends ripples through unseen realms. Do not shrink back, thinking your flame is fragile. Even the faintest spark can ignite a wildfire when heaven breathes upon it. And heaven has chosen you to burn bright against the darkest night. Chosen one. There is a mystery in obedience that the world cannot comprehend. Every act of surrender you make, no matter how small, becomes a key in the spirit. Keys unlock doors, doors to freedom, doors to provision, doors to breakthroughs. You could not manufacture on your own, where chains once held you bound. Obedience shatters them, releasing you into the spacious places God prepared for you. Disobedience, on the other hand, may feel like freedom in the moment, but it always forges chains. Every compromise, every delayed response, every refusal to follow, the whisper tightens the grip of bondage. What looks like liberty soon becomes captivity. That is why the path of obedience, though narrow and sometimes painful, is always the path of true freedom. The Word of God reminds us in the letter to James, chapter 1, verse 25, "But the one who looks intently into the perfect law that gives freedom and continues in it, not forgetting what they have heard, but doing it, they will be blessed in what they do." No, freedom is not found in casting off restraint, but in submitting to the law of God that leads to life. The paradox is clear. Surrender leads to liberty, while rebellion leads to slavery. There was once a chosen one who felt trapped by a cycle of addiction. He prayed for breakthrough, but continued ignoring the Spirit's nudges to confess his struggle, to seek counsel, to let go of toxic habits. The chains grew heavier. Finally, one day, weary of his bondage, he obeyed. He confessed. He sought help. The very act of obedience unlocked a flood of grace that broke the cycle at last. What years of striving could not accomplish, obedience unlocked in a moment. Picture a door with dozens of locks across its frame. You tug, you push, you slam against it, but it will not budge. Then, almost unexpectedly, a single key turns and every lock clicks open. That key is obedience. It looks ordinary, but it has supernatural power to break what force and willpower cannot. Or imagine a bird trapped in a cage. The cage door is left open, but the bird hesitates, afraid of the unknown. Only when it dares to step out does it discover the vastness of the sky, the freedom of flight. Obedience feels like risk, but it is the doorway to the wide expanse of liberty God intended for you. Chosen one. You must stop thinking of obedience as loss. Every surrender is an exchange. Your burden for His peace, your chains for His liberty, your small plans for His expansive destiny. What feels like dying to yourself is actually the birth of your truest life. There was another chosen one who wrestled with leaving behind a relationship that pulled her away from God. She feared loneliness, rejection, the pain of letting go, but the Spirit pressed her heart. Obey. With trembling hands she surrendered. And for a season, the silence hurt. Yet months later, joy and clarity filled her life in ways she had never known. What once felt like a cruel sacrifice was revealed to be the unlocking of her freedom. Chosen one. Every chain you carry is waiting for a key. And that key is not hidden, it is in your obedience. The areas you have wrestled with, the patterns you long to break, the doors you long to see open, they respond not to striving, but to surrender. Think of Israel before the walls of Jericho. The walls were impenetrable, towering over them, yet God's instruction was simple. March. Shout. Obey. When they obeyed, the walls fell. It was not their strength. It was their surrender. The same is true for you. The walls that surround you today will not fall through your effort, but through your obedience to the voice of God. So, do not despise the whisper that calls you to surrender. Do not treat lightly the nudge that asks you to lay something down, for in your obedience lies the key that breaks chains, not just for you, but for those connected to you. Your freedom will ripple outward, unlocking doors for others, inspiring courage in those still trapped. Chosen one. Chains break by obedience, and as you walk this path, you will discover that the very places where you once felt bound will become testimonies of freedom to others. What once weighed you down will become the very story that lifts others up. For when God breaks chains, He never does it for one alone. He does it so that generations may know His power to set captives free. Chosen one. You must realize the seriousness of this moment. This week is not ordinary. It is war. A battle rages around you. Unseen, but undeniable. Angels are positioned. Demons are restless. And heaven watches to see how you will respond. The battleground is not just out there. It is your heart, your decisions, your obedience. The enemy does not attack casually. He attacks because he fears what you carry. He fears your prayer, your surrender, your light. That is why this week feels heavy. Why the atmosphere feels charged. Why temptations come sharper and distractions more frequent. You are not being punished. You are being fought because you are significant. The ancient words recorded in the book of Joshua, chapter 1, verse 9, declare, "Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God is with you wherever." This courage is not the absence of fear. It is the choice to move forward despite it. And when you step forward, all of heaven steps with you. Picture yourself as a warrior standing at dawn, sword in hand, armor fastened. The battlefield stretching out before you. The enemy taunts. The shadows gather. But behind you, a great cloud of witnesses rises, urging you on. Every step you take into obedience shakes the ground beneath your feet. You do not fight alone. You fight as one marked by heaven. Or imagine your life as a tower on a hill. Fires rage around its base. Winds howl against its walls. Yet it stands because its foundation is firm. That is you, chosen one. You may feel battered, but you are immovable when you lean on God. Now, let me pause here. If these words have been strength to you, if they have reminded you of your calling, I invite you into something more. Take a moment to like this message. Share it. So, another soldier in this battle is encouraged. And subscribe, so you do not miss the words, "Heaven is speaking." These simple acts are like signals sent across the battlefield, letting others know they are not alone. And if you feel stirred, consider this. Your donation is like placing another stone upon the altar of fire. Every stone builds higher. Every flame burns brighter. And together we create a beacon that no darkness can extinguish. It is never forced, never demanded, only offered as a way for you to join in keeping the fire alive. Like a soldier bringing wood to keep the campfire burning through the night. Your contribution helps ensure others will still see the light when they feel surrounded by shadows. Even a small gift carries weight. A single drop of oil keeps the lamp glowing. A single seed planted grows into a tree where others may find shade. If you cannot give, your presence, your prayers, and your voice are already vital. If you can give, your offering joins a chorus of light bearers across the earth. Together, we hold the line in this battle. And there is one more thing I want you to do. As an act of faith, leave a comment below. I will stand. Those 3 words are not just a statement. They are a declaration. When you write them, you are saying to both heaven and hell, I will not retreat. I will not be shaken. I will stand in obedience, no matter the cost. That declaration becomes like a banner lifted over your life, a visible sign that you have chosen courage in the midst of war. Chosen one. This week is war, but you are not a casualty. You are a warrior. The enemy trembles when you wake up and realize who you are. He shakes when you lift your voice in prayer. He recoils when you choose obedience over compromise. You were never meant to hide from the battle. You were born for it. So, step forward. Lift your head high. Grip your sword of faith. And know this, the battle is real. But so is the victory. You will not be crushed. You will not be overcome. You are chosen to fight and chosen to win. Chosen one. Never underestimate the beauty of your contribution, however small it seems. Just as a single spark can ignite an entire forest, one act of obedience, one gesture of support, one declaration of faith can ripple across generations. What you give, what you declare, what you share, it does not vanish. It multiplies in ways you cannot see, shaping futures and strengthening lives far beyond your reach. You are not just a participant in this battle, you are a builder of victory, a carrier of light, a keeper of the fire, and heaven rejoices every time you choose to stand. Chosen one. There are turning points in life when the direction of your journey shifts forever. These moments may not always look dramatic from the outside, but in the spirit, they are seismic. A single choice, a single act of obedience, a single surrender can alter the entire course of your future. Heaven leans close in such moments, watching as you decide which road to walk. This is the power of obedience in critical seasons. Your future is not determined by chance, it is shaped by your responses to the voice of God. What you decide today has the power to echo into tomorrow, shaping generations that come after you. The ancient words recorded in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30, verse 19, declare, I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life, so that you and your children may live. Notice that the invitation is clear, but so is the responsibility. You are not a bystander in destiny, you are a participant. The choices placed before you matter not just for you, but for those who will walk the paths after you. Think of a river splitting into two directions. One flows toward fertile valleys where life flourishes, the other into barren deserts where nothing grows. Standing at the fork, your decision determines not just your own survival, but the lives of everyone who drinks from the waters downstream. That is what obedience is like. Your turning point is never just about you. Or imagine a tree in a vast field. Its roots sink deep, and in time, it spreads wide branches that give shade. Generations of weary travelers rest beneath it, grateful for the shelter it provides. Yet all of that began when the tree was only a seed, planted at the right time, in the right soil. So too, the decisions you make now may look small, but they will grow into a legacy that outlives you. There was once a chosen one who wrestled with the call to leave behind the security of a job and step into a new assignment God had placed on his heart. Fear battled with faith. Logic told him to stay where it was safe. But the whisper urged him forward. After nights of prayer, he obeyed. Years later, he looked back and realized that single decision had unlocked opportunities, relationships, and impact he could never have imagined. It was a prophetic turning point, not just for his life, but for the lives of many who were touched through his obedience. Chosen one. Understand this: prophetic turning points rarely announce themselves with trumpets. They often come quietly, hidden in the ordinary. A whisper nudging you to forgive, a conviction pressing you to step away from compromise, a call to step into something unfamiliar. These are not random. They are invitations to turn, to align with heaven's script. The enemy knows this, which is why he fights so fiercely at the edge of turning points. Hesos confusion stirs fear and tempts delay. He hopes you will miss the moment, that you will brush aside the whisper, that you will choose comfort over calling. But the spirit within you presses still. Choose life, choose obedience, choose destiny. Think of Israel standing before the Red Sea. Behind them was bondage. Before them, the impossible. Yet when Moses stretched out his staff in obedience, the waters parted, and a path appeared where none existed. That moment was not just deliverance, it was a turning point that birthed a nation's future. So it will be with you. The decision you make in this season carries weight beyond what you can see. You may feel the trembling in your heart, the uncertainty of the unknown, but trust this: obedience will always lead to life. Chosen one. Do not despise the moment you are in. Do not assume it is ordinary. Heaven has woven this time into your story for a reason. The turning point before you is sacred. Step into it with faith, for on the other side waits a future marked by God's hand. Chosen one. Prophetic turning points rarely look convenient. They often appear in seasons when you feel weakest, when stepping forward seems impossible. That is why they require faith. God chooses these moments to remind you that it is not your strength, but His, that carries you through. Do not despise the trembling in your spirit. It is the sign you are standing at holy ground. Fear may whisper, but courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to obey despite it. And when you step into this moment, You align your life with heaven's design. What feels small now will one day be revealed as monumental. The very chapter that shifted everything for you and those connected to you. Chosen one. The path ahead of you is not without cost, but it is crowned with glory. To walk as one set apart means to endure seasons others will never understand. To carry burdens heavier than most will ever know. Yet the weight you carry is not punishment, it is preparation. The hand of God has been shaping you in secret for the unveiling that is near. You must understand, the story of your life is not random. Every valley you crossed, every storm that tested you, every silence that stretched your faith, none of it was wasted. Heaven was writing through every moment, weaving together a testimony that will speak louder than your words ever could. As the Apostle Paul declared in his letter to the Romans, chapter 8, verse 18, I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. And the pain you endured is real, but it is not the end. It is the soil from which glory will rise. Just as a seed must break to release new life, so too your breaking has been the doorway to becoming. Picture a potter at his wheel. He presses, shapes, and sometimes even breaks the clay to remake it stronger. The clay does not understand the pressure, but the potter sees the masterpiece in his hands. That is you, chosen one. The pressure you feel is not to destroy, but to refine you into the vessel heaven envisioned from the beginning. Or imagine a diamond hidden in the earth. At first, it is only a stone, overlooked, unremarkable, but under intense heat and crushing weight, it transforms into something unshakable, brilliant, and priceless. The crushing you have endured was not meaningless. It was the very process that revealed your true value. There was once a chosen one who could not understand why his life seemed filled with constant battles. He cried out, "Why me? Why this weight?" Years later, standing on the other side, he realized the very struggles that nearly broke him had become the foundation of his ministry. People listened, not because of his eloquence, but because his scars carried truth. His wounds had become his witness. Chosen one, your wounds, too, are not shameful. They are sacred. They are proof that you have walked through fire and emerged alive. They tell the world that darkness tried to silence you, but failed. Every scar whispers of survival, and every survival declares destiny. The crown set before you is not made of earthly gold. It is glory woven from endurance, faithfulness, and surrender. It is the Father's acknowledgement that you did not give up, that you trusted Him even when the night was longest. Think of a runner nearing the finish line, muscles burning, lungs screaming for air. The crowd cheers, but in that moment, the pain is overwhelming. Still, with each step, the runner moves closer to the prize, and when the finish line is crossed, the pain fades, overshadowed by victory. That is what awaits you. The wait will not last forever. The crown is near. Chosen one, hold fast. Do not let weariness deceive you into quitting. You are closer than you think, nearer to breakthrough than you realize. The very intensity of the battle now is a sign you are on the edge of completion. Darkness always fights hardest when it knows dawn is about to break. Lift your eyes. See beyond the weight you carry. Imagine the day when every tear is wiped away, when every unanswered question fades, when you stand face to face with the one who called you on that day. The weight you carried will seem light compared to the joy set before you. Chosen one, your story is not one of defeat. It is one of glory. Walk forward, not with fear, but with assurance. For though the journey is costly, the end is certain. You will wear the crown, and heaven will rejoice over your faithfulness. Chosen one, pause for a moment and breathe this in. The crown is not just for the future, it is already being prepared with your name inscribed. Every act of obedience, every tear you surrendered, every quiet prayer in the night has been woven into it. Do not let despair convince you that your sacrifices were unnoticed. Heaven has recorded them, one by one, and nothing has been wasted. What looked like loss will be revealed as seed. What felt like silence will be revealed as shaping. And when the crown is finally placed upon your head, it will not merely symbolize survival, it will proclaim victory. It will declare that you walked faithfully, even when the road was steep and lonely. And in that moment, every weight will make sense. Chosen one, you have walked through every word with me. And this journey has not been by chance. Heaven's whisper has been guiding, warning, and strengthening you. And now you stand at the threshold of decision. Will you treasure these truths, carry them into your week, and let them shape your destiny? Every step you take matters. Every response echoes. Your obedience will ripple outward, touching lives you may never meet. Do not underestimate the power of what God has planted in you through this message. And now, if these words have spoken to your spirit, I invite you gently into response. Take a moment to like this message. Share it, so another weary soul may find light. And subscribe so you remain connected to future words that will strengthen you. Each small act is like striking a spark in the dark. It spreads further than you know. I also open this invitation. If your heart is stirred, consider giving. Think of it as sowing a seed into fertile soil. That seed does not vanish. It grows into trees that shelter, rivers that refresh, and flames that keep burning for others. Or think of it as placing a stone into a foundation. Every stone makes the structure stronger, and one day, others will walk safely upon the ground you helped secure. Your donation, whether large or small, is never demanded. It is simply a way to partner in keeping this light alive. If you cannot give, your prayers and your presence are already precious offerings. And before we close, leave a final mark in the comments. I will carry this. Those 4 words are not empty, they are a vow. You are declaring that this message will not be forgotten but lived. You are saying that what heaven has spoken today will travel with you into every step ahead. Chosen one, the journey continues. The crown awaits, and heaven rejoices over your yes.